you know, Vikla here, yeah, I'm a good counter pick to Fisher, then you're going to end up having a good time, at least in that lane, which has been so important so far here in LCK Cup. It feels like for the last 2 years has been such a pivotal role in getting you that map control.
Yeah, well, here we are into the draft. Let's dive into game number 1 and see what's going to be banned away. No surprises on the red side, as Skarner Kalista have just needed to be banned. This is where you get somewhat flexibility. Something like, you know, yesterday it was Ashe that needed to be banned away, but I don't know whether that's necessarily as high priority. Maybe something like an Aurora could be removed from Kingen and Fisher. Kingen actually been putting up some numbers on that champion as well, so removing some flexibility could be a good idea. We'll see what they do decide to do. As Rumble, another Kingen-aimed ban, and a good one too.
I wonder where they're going to take this. I mean, Ashe is still a strong pick, VAR is still a strong pick. You have the ability to just grab Ambessa here.
True.
All of these picks will shape your drafts in different ways. So, again, that's the power of blue side here. Nongshim have it, and we will see what they will opt for. A lot of consideration here. The Vi was banned by them. And Aurora hasn't really been, I mean, before, okay, there's the Ambessa instead, but Aurora was one of those picks that in Kespa Cup was always in that spot. In the first week of LCK Cup was almost always in that spot, but has really fallen off here quite a bit, actually, towards the end of week 2, and now in our final week of the group battle stage. Jace is one of those other picks that's also been super highly prioritized by our top teams that they could have gone for, but we'll go over to B&K instead. We'll see what they want to grab with this. Could this be a strong jungle pick? Even something like a Lilia would make sense, although it's not really Raptor's thing.
Ooh, Poppy going to be hovered here, and I was kind of pranked, Wolf, because with the fact that it was written as B&K Furex versus Nongshim on everything, I assumed that it was B&K that had side selection. That's not actually the case.
Yeah, it's Nongshim actually.
So that's why Nongshim are on blue side. Because I was looking at it, I'm like, wait, they chose red? Are they insane? And then I double checked, and they do in fact have side selection for this one.
I knew something wasn't right, but I was like, I don't know, I missed something as well. So I apologize to everyone, but
no, it's just that it was that's how it was sort of publicized, and it's a little bit of a predetermined thing, and like there's some coin flipping going on to figure out who gets side selection. So just clarifying that one, if the Elise is locked in,
and that does reverse everything we said about B&K having that advantage, so it makes it a little bit tougher for them here starting on red side. But Elise here into the Poppy, if it is in fact going to be Poppy support, feels really nice. But you don't know what the bottom matchup is just yet, so this feels almost like a trap here for Nongshim to lock this one in this early without knowing that matchup and knowing that Raptor could potentially be playing this Poppy. Could also, theoretically, even be going tops as well. So probably not into the Ambessa. Doesn't sound like a fun time, but either way, this Elise pick is very dangerous, and now B&K have the opportunity to try to set up a bottom lane that's safe against this. And also their top lane, because it'll likely be a lane swap, the top laner has to lane against that Elise, can set up something more safe as well. So like the Jace could now go mid. Just as a result of this Elise being shown this early.
Not to mention the fact that it's a Kai'Sa as well, so a lot of magic damage. Not really as worried about the damage profile if that champion has been locked in. Opens a bunch of doors as far as that draft is concerned. And Ryu going to be happy about that because they were, you know, a bit shoehorned in previous drafts, and so probably going to be feeling a lot better about how this one's going.
The Caitlyn ban is so easy here. It's so obvious because the Elise is already locked in. The synergy with the Cocoon into Trap, we've seen so much. You crush the lane swap, you know, you crush the lane, they lane swap, you crush the top laner, like you win everything. So that one they're not going to allow through. The Lilia I was mentioning earlier, I think is a really wise ban here for Nongshim Red Force as well, considering we may have that Jace mid. Double ADs means you want some more magic damage, even though you have the Kai'Sa. It's got great setup here as well in this draft already. You can set up Shock Blast, you set up a Kai'Sa ult with the sleep. So a lot of long range, plus the engage of the Kai'Sa feels really good with that pick. Ezreal, similar situation, even though Kai'Sa has kind of been, air quotes, a great response, like a great counter to the Ezreal. I think it's really good in this draft for Nongshim Red Force. A lot of power with the Elise too.
Let's see what the final ban is going to be. They might stick to some of these AP junglers, but I don't think you necessarily need to. I think maybe getting rid of something that's just a bit more standard could be an option here, as they're taking their time. Azir going to be taken away from Vikla instead, moving towards that mid lane. So now, an opportunity here. I expect a jungle to be locked in, keep that mid lane, top lane as flexible as possible.
I agree. Wukong is a strong option here, really punishing into the Elise and can be quite strong into Sejuani as well. So
yeah, the Armor Shred really strong.
It's not necessarily the peel for AD carry Wukong that we've seen a lot of the time, where you keep that late game AD carry alive. The front to back team fight kind of gets protected, but it does fit the theme of a little bit more aggressive play around this Poppy.
Where's the kneeler? Jiwoo, where is it? He was the kneeler guy, remember? Of course, we haven't seen that champion. I don't even know whether it exists anymore in 2025. But
there's the Zeri.
This one does.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
I mean, I guess if you really have the perfect scenario, you could set up a feather call, the blade call with the cocoon and stuff, you know? There's like some synergy maybe.
Yeah, and it was also Zeri Elise. And Zeri Elise doesn't feel very good, so maybe that's a thing. So we're going to lock in the Aurora. Still flexing, actually.
Yes.
You saw Fisher having a bit of a giggle, and that means that, yeah, maybe they're not even entirely sure who's going to be playing what just yet.
I think you could play Galio here, actually. It's not a lot of damage, but it gives you a really nice response to the Aurora, and you can match the Aurora no matter where she goes in that flexibility. Victor, I like a little bit less. There's a lot more magic damage. Vikla is not the type of player I associate with control mages and slow controlled gameplay and just kind of being a front-to-back AP carry type player. He has done it in the past, but it's not really been what he's known for. He's more similar to Closer, who he replaced on this roster, who plays a lot of melees, plays a lot more explosive picks. But at the end of the day, when I look at these drafts here, I don't think either team ended up with a draft that is super strong in its own isolation, but I like what B&K put together here and how it's going to set up team fights. The Poppy could be quite strong, could be very powerful in the early game, can help control objectives. And when you get to these messy team fights with these two teams that just aren't known for clean team fighting, I do feel like B&K can counter some of Nongshim's craziness that they like to pull off. You know, you pull out the Elise, it's Lehens, I get it, you know, but maybe he gets punished a few times. I feel like there's a lot more opportunity when things get a little bit messy on the B&K side. If I look at either draft, though, like I said moments ago, I don't feel like either of these drafts are even A tier necessarily. It's very much these players are playing what they want to play, not what the meta dictates is necessarily the best type of draft we could have had here.
Yeah, there is some salvaging to be done here, and as I think more about it, I think the Zeri would have been almost grief into the Poppy, because we've seen Poppies just snatch Zeris away from victory so many times. Our best ones, of course, have been able to win games, but the Xayah certainly escapes that heroic charge problem a little bit more effectively, and there's a lot of zone control against this composition, which doesn't have a whole lot of range outside of Victor and Jace being able to get some poke in. An interesting one on both sides. Let's jump into it. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Two arcane characters and Mega Man on the side of BFX is very exciting. And so we'll see how that top side is going to go with, you know, Space Vein and Poppy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
If it was something like Caitlyn, Elise here in the top side, you know, I feel pretty rough for Clear if he ended up in that matchup, but they are going to match the swap. They have a ward as well. They haven't seen the Elise just yet, obviously, but they can reasonably assume, especially because they didn't see a big group up on the top side, that any information is being hidden. Lehens is going to go sweep to, you know, say, oh, okay, they don't know for sure, but they also don't know that, yeah, it's just Diablo and Kellen on the other side.
And I can't remember the matchup, the interaction, but I'm pretty sure Steadfast Presence blocks Elise's Spider Form Q.
I actually don't know that, but I feel like it should.
Yeah, because it's like a mini dash forward.
Yeah.
As, Clear is doing that I'm a top laner thing. I want level 2 so I don't die immediately as I go to lane, and we've seen this every single day thus far. But
I like to think of that
scary
spider move as like a bite and not a dash, but it does propel you forward like a dash. I just don't know how it's coded.
You do lunge a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've seen the matchup. So maybe our scholars on the desk will be able to let us know.
We might see it right before our eyes as well in this lane at some point.
They are standing next to each other. You do have a point. See what Kellen's going to be able to get done on this Poppy. He has had some good Poppy games in the past, but sometimes when he's on proactive champions like this, he can freeze, not necessarily have those proactive plays on lock, but we'll see how he does go. So Nongshim do get the wave pushed up, and at least they do have a lot of control here in this early stage of the game, as even the poke is landing pretty nicely as Ju throws out a few of these Qs. We will have a bit of a microscope on Ju in this series, just because, as highlighted earlier on, he's the one that needs to be stepping up for Nongshim. they're going to make some waves moving further into this tournament and into the LCK.
I think in this draft, too, it's quite challenging to get a ton of value out of Xayah. You know, great into the Kai'Sa, of course, but into Victor, you're going to be, you know, you're not going to be able to outrange him or anything like that, and he's going to be layering a lot of damage, and you have to deal with Wukong's Cyclone, which you can't really ult because he will just persist in his Cyclone and knock you up anyways. So you can buy some time, you can buy some space, but it isn't always going to be guaranteed safety against this jungler. So he has a tall order to kind of play this one out properly. As you see, Jace is on a big win streak here. Notice is played by a lot of strong players as well, including Morgan.
Yeah, it's certainly been the big winning pick, especially this tank Jace, as was piloted expertly by Doran yesterday.
Doran makes me believe in tank Jace. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, actually, at first I was like, this is stupid, this doesn't make any sense. And I watched Doran play, and I'm like, oh my god, it's broken.
Doran is like, he is bringing back these low econ top lanes and making them look successful. It's like, it's been sort of a thing that's happened so many times. We haven't had the expert, you know, we haven't had the QV, right? The QV has been gone for too long, and Doran is now that guy, especially on... Okay, that's just first blood. Kellen's dead. Well, there was the interaction, Wolf.
I also said that there's a chance you could set up the feathers with that, and, you know, she was like, challenge accepted. Big damage onto the Poppy, just isn't that tanky at this stage, and down goes Kellen, so... Big win there in the 2v2. And Elise is always going to be strong into melee supports. You know, we've seen it into specifically Leona a lot, just crushing it, because if you're melee and you get caught by the cocoon and then you're rooted, and yeah, a bit late on the steadfast presence, but not much really that could have done there. And that is that. So first blood going over to the Elise, in fact, in this case.
And we have to remember as well that Lehens is the most experienced support Elise player we have in the LCK, and he probably is in the world. He's been playing it before it was cool. That was what he was known for coming into the LCK on Griffin in 2018, was playing Singed and playing Elise in every role, but mainly support. So back then it was weird, and now it's just normal. And so Lehens just kind of getting patched in a little bit here, which is to his benefit. Of course, did debut the pick here in the LCK. But now it's been played by absolutely everyone, and I think Carrier's probably had the most impressive games on it thus far.
Yeah.
But, that little gank there in the 2v2, very, very nice as far as the start to this game.
And you could have opted into playing Jace. Hold up.
Okay, he's doing it again. Yeah, Kellen is just going to take a lot of damage. Diablo as well, as Gio's just going to chase him down. The Ghost has been used. Doesn't have the Blade Caller, but they just got back.
Yeah, well, this is a disaster now. It was...
Oh, God. Lehens is just not letting them go home. As there's the flash. Lehens might have bit off more than he can chew. Still burning down. But Gideon's over here. Raptor also turning up, but not actually able to affect the play. So Lehens is going to get scared off. Gio moving on over now as Gideon, a lot of health available, but they don't have control. A Cocoon is up, and then it lands onto the Monkey. Repel out immediately as Kellen cannot find it, but they eventually will get that Spider, because what goes up must come down, and Gio is just going to dive on top of Diablo. There it is. Flashes into the brush, but there is vision there already. And Nongshim are all over this early game.
Yeah, I could see the thought process behind what BNK were trying to do there. They had Raptor coming up, but you know, even in a good isolated match to the Sejuani, it's tough when you're not level 6 as a Wukong to make big impactful plays there. They already had the health advantage from that previous trade. The catch on to Lehens was one thing, right? Okay, he overextends, you go there, but then committing further in was a bit of a problem, unfortunately. I think Raptor felt priced in because he made the big rotation over, but they end up losing out on the 3v3 in a big way. And this time, the Kai'Sa picks up an additional kill. Last time around, it was just Lehens who got that one, so... Or, sorry, the Xayah, excuse me, picks up a kill. And so you've got an 80 carry who's accelerated now in a matchup that you were already kind of crushing and do naturally crush. So things are looking not so good here for BNK in this early game. Watch this again. Diablo is super low. So is Lehens, right? But he's a support in this case. He's going to be the one to set the engage. Because he has Repel, he can avoid so much damage in this interim. So yes, he does ultimately die, but he buys a ton of time. And then Diablo kind of panics here as well, flashing into this brush. He's not going to change that one, even if there isn't a word there, because they'll just walk in and see him. But I think just hoping maybe he could turn something around.
And I don't even know whether it was necessary, but it was a very sexy flash over the Void Seeker as well from Ju to make sure that he is definitely not dying in that exchange.
Yeah, maybe if he gets hit by that and then he flashes in the brush and there's no ward, maybe there's a chance.
Maybe, like, if the Plasma gets procced, obviously Diablo's going to be doing a whole lot more, so making sure that doesn't happen. But I don't know whether that was all that close in that scenario. But hindsight's 20/20. It was very well played here by Ju. And the best thing is that he's showing that killer instinct. And that is precisely what we were asking for at the beginning of this game. You love it when a plan comes together. As Kingen dashing around, not going to be bothered by this steadfast presence, as Kellen will be able to clear out that ward. And now Raptor able to slink in unbeknownst.
It's tough to dive this Mbessa with flash and ult.
Oh, but Gideon's coming in. Oh no, the Wukong gets trapped in the prison, but Kingen's still likely to go down. The public execution is unfortunately not going to get seen by anyone. And B&K, they get out of the woods, but that was very funny at the beginning of that fight.
I feel like that still wasn't like the right move from B&K, but they got lucky, okay? King is a little bit too far away from the turret. Fisher is going to be fine here. We'll get out, no problem. And now Raptor is going to be able to, looks like, take this blue buff away, although.
Yep, ulti comes on through as another dive and another death as the repel gets him out of there. Fisher going to be flashing. That's the right flash, however, not going to be good enough as Vikla going to secure it with a Chaos Storm. Probably would have been good for that one to go over to Diablo, but I think that Vikla certainly in a position to carry now as well.
Yeah, if he had teleport too, maybe he could come over here and clear up some of these minions and stop this push, but it's going to be a lot of plate gold going over. So this game is kind of off the rails already here. You mentioned B&K having a lot of opportunities of this draft in Chaos. I think they were gifted that kill onto Kingen, and obviously with the extended fight there, Vikla picks up one as well, but they left clear, isolated in that bottom lane. He didn't want to lane into the Elise. He knew he would get dove, but after they got tempo topside, they could then focus him down on the bottom side. And so he gets pushed out there. Tons of plates go over, so their lane swap, where they've matched the lane swap, basically, where they also swapped, I guess I should say, still ends up leaving clear out to dry here because of that topside exchange. He gets cocooned, he gets burst down. I mean, Elise just does so much damage, and she's so good in this meta because she can avoid a lot of that turret ramp with her repel.
Yeah.
Over here, Raptor looks like, oh, he's overextended, but he actually still is in position to help follow up here, and with the long-range killer instinct with just enough mana, Diablo is able to help Vikla get that kill. I thought for sure the kill would go to Diablo.
I think Diablo possibly could have even got it with the Q, but Vikla didn't want to risk it, I guess. Also, probably Vikla wanted the money, and he does manage to get it there.
So things are just, we're not done.
I've seen this movie before, as Kingen not going to find the ulti once again, but this time he's not dead. Dashing around, will be able to grab himself a shield as he makes his way southward, but Raptor is going to be there. The smite comes in. Good flash, and Kingen! Woohoo! That's some fancy footwork.
Yeah, and all the while,
dodge.
Gio finishes off the turret bottom side, had a rotation over from clear to mid. Raptors, or not Raptors, the Grubs are up in 10 seconds here, so he felt like, okay, we got to make something happen here top side. I need to rotate over, but it leaves the turret open. And now they're not in a position to actually start these Raptors up because Kingen survived. This gives time for rotation to happen. So everybody's up here and set up for this Raptor contest for Nongshim and Raptor. Or sorry, I keep calling it Raptors because Raptors is in the game. Raptor is in the game, but the Grub contest comes over from Nongshim, and Raptor will just have to leave. He is Wukong, so he doesn't have to flash or anything like that, but they get nothing on the map.
Oh man, and this is also 6 Grubs going over to an Mbessa composition. Not to mention that, you know, Aurora actually does decently well in the side lane with, you know, how kind of elusive she can be. So Nongshim's certainly benefiting a whole lot. Also, that is going to be feats of strength now secured for them at the same time as they were able to grab that turret on the bottom side of the map. Upgraded shoes, all that good stuff. As Kellen, I don't know whether he's allowed to walk up here. Clear and Raptor are making their way in, but in this 3v3, it's going to be tough. With a fourth, though, maybe an opportunity. No Blade Caller here for Jiwoo, as he's now looking to get himself out. Great cocoon from Lehens, who does have to flash, but does get himself out of there. Diablo also going to be killer instincting in order to make his way out. An awkward verb, not going to lie. As Gideon is going to be on this ward. I feel like we've been waiting for some replays for a while, but we can't get to them because there's just action all over the place. And Kellen is also just going to get prisoned, and now he's in trouble. The cocoon point-blank range onto Raptor as he throws down the Cyclone, but Lehends is going to find him. Still, the second Cyclone's going to take out the Elise. Keeper's verdict says no to Fisher, and Raptor even survives a couple of feathers.
Yeah, you know, I actually still will defend almost to the death, like Lehends' choice to actually cocoon Raptor there because he had Cyclone available. It actually seemed like a super sick instant decision by him where he's like, okay, we kill both of them this way and this is the safest possible thing to do. Because your instinct is always going to tell you like, oh, kill low health target, let's cocoon Kellen there, we guarantee the kill. But maybe he gets interrupted by the Cyclone and then Kellen gets away just barely. And then, you know, obviously Raptor has the advantage in the fight. But because he doesn't kill Kellen, the ult goes off and Raptor is able to just narrowly survive there. So Lehends sacrifices himself unintentionally in this exchange. This game has just been so wild. Obviously, like this is the most recent replay. Gideon catches Kellen. And then look at the cocoon swap here onto Raptor, but he still gets the Cyclone off and he can flash over the wall. And then Lehends goes to chase him, but gets hit by the second part of the Cyclone. And then Kellen has the steadfast, or not the steadfast, the Keeper's verdict to knock the Aurora away, so Fisher can't clean up the fight. It was actually really well played there by BNK, but I also feel like Lehends still had the right idea.
Yeah,
I want to defend him there.
And the execute was so close to just killing him, right? Like, it says it's an execute. It should have executed. Wasn't able to do quite enough damage, and so Lehends looked a little bit silly in the end. But this is what you're going to have to do, right? Like, we've seen so many of our Elises just play fast and loose because you kind of have to. That's how the champion works. In the support role, your base damages are quite high. As Kuhn going to connect here, as Lehends once again demonstrating exactly what we were talking about.
It's fun to play Elise in situations like this because, yeah, you'll never 1v1 kill Vikla in this situation, but as a support with low eco, you know, you're like, well, I can actually take a ton of his health away. Aleona can't do that, so I'm going to take every chance I can get. I'm going to proc electrocute every moment I can. He has Zazax in this game as well, so that was all that extra damage coming through, and maybe that actually gives him just an extra edge, Fisher that is, in this sign lane to maybe get something done. Just looking for these angles constantly. That's why we've seen such high death games on Elise where the Elise still wins because she's often sacrificing herself for the greater team fight.
Yeah, and an interesting thing has occurred here as well. Diablo has gone Yuntal first, which is something I haven't seen just yet. Seen a fair bit of Kraken Slayer if they want a bit more physical damage, but Yuntal is a new one, has been buffed on this patch. Is now Fisher looking to try and survive here. That is a Narnian ultimate from Gideon and a very dead Fisher, but still, Poppy's going to be on the floor, so a 1-for-1. Not too bad there for Nongshim as they are pushing in this mid lane at the same time. June not going to let Diablo get in there without a fight, but it is going to be that mid wave cleared out, and Kingen is just continuing to split push. Eclipse is now done. See what he's going to be able to purchase for himself as he does go home, only a wave ahead of his Jace counterpart in clear.
I think that, you know, there's no plates anymore, obviously, and they're not going to be able to get this mid-turret, so a trade up here for B&K because Victor picks up that second kill versus, you know, support grabbing a kill on the other side, or kill onto the support on the other side by the Sejuani. And, you know, the time in which you get with that turret in the bottom side, you know, Kingan's going to have on the Ambessa, that sort of stuff matters way less when you're not actually killing the turret. You see on the minimap, he stops channeling his back. He's like, okay, that's kind of a disaster over there, but I'm going to keep pushing. But he still gives all of that farm to Clear because there is no turret there. Clear can actually go get all of that. So, you know, it's still a gold lead here for Nongshim, but small little edges that B&K have across the board. Remember that a lot of that gold on a Sejuani versus a Victor, the Victor's gold is going to be way more valuable.
Yeah, very true. And I think B&K Furex might be able to get themselves a Herald because they have so much vision towards his top side. However, it is now just getting cleared out, and Nongshim are just going to walk up and start it. So oftentimes you'll see teams do a lot of work when it comes to setup, as Kellen is going to prove that you do in fact block the Spider Q by pressing W. That is going to work out very well to avoid him taking too much damage there, although it doesn't do a whole lot to a high health target. Is now Raptor looking for a wraparound, wants to stop Kingen from being able to get in here, but the public execution is a real dangerous one. Raptor just walks in and it's a highway robbery. Kingen, can you find an angle as Kingen's just going to move him out of there, but he's going to be dying. Raptor now going to get imprisoned, and he is the one that drew the short straw as he doesn't get over the wall there. Not quite an option. So the rest of B&K going to look to try and push this mid-wave out, lick their wounds a little bit and say, at least we got the Rift Herald, even if they weren't able to pick up the eye.
Yeah, and I mean, there's 3 outer turrets still standing where it's going to be potentially useful. And watch this one more time. Raptor comes over here, use Warrior's Trickster just to steal it. Gideon actually gets blocked by Kellen. A lot of resources being put into this Poppy and consistently these fights is a little bit scary. I think if B&K were actually better set up for this fight, it would have been way better for them. Unfortunately, they didn't have any prio, so even though a lot of that damage and resource were put into Kellen, they end up winning the fight swimmingly, but don't end up stopping the smite from going over is Kellen.
Ooh, yeah, Lahen's going to just say, all right, well, if this is the situation, I will try and offer some damage back. Kingen moves up. They're not able to actually kill this pesky spider as, Lahen's, that was so cute. Going to stop him from being able to take him down by blast coning him away. And now the permafrost comes in. Kellen just going to get wrathed by the winter and will be taken down where he stands. This Poppy not necessarily working out for B&K thus far, but that was very sad for Kellen.
Yeah, really nice move there by Lahen's to kind of just isolate him there, blast cone him into oblivion.
Is it crazy, but I think that Lahen's is POM so far.
I think so.
He's my front runner. I know it's a 3-0-3 Zyra's public execution onto Vikla. He's going to have to flash, but that's not going to get him away from this Ambessa. Raptor chasing him down. Clear is going to very awkwardly teleport in, but will be able to grab a kill on to this Ambessa. Repel gets Lahen's out of there, and Diablo now just standing awkwardly behind the turret. Raptor is going to move in, and the Cocoon is going to miss. And that will mean that Diablo takes down the Spider. B&K, they managed to grab that one, as now Kellen's dead again. Gio going to collect another kill, and he's continuing to push here in this mid lane.
They have 6 grubs, so I mean, the push of this Xayah is actually relevant. Plus Fisher here in the top side, really working on this turret. It's a lot of relevant damage being done, even though it's a trade up in kills in that play bottom side. So Nongshim really just trying to brute force their way into these macro trades, which I think ultimately can work out for them, especially because the Xayah now has 4 kills. So we're looking at like Victor versus Xayah in this game. It's a low econ Aurora so far. We've seen so many big errors made in this game by B&K, where otherwise fights could have been a lot cleaner. At least in this situation, they do have the teleport, so you do see the gank come through, or I don't even want to call it a gank, but the response come through here from Clear to help bail them out. He picks up a ton of gold. Diablo can fall up from long range, and unfortunately, one of Elise's strengths is not being tanky. Another one is not really defending turret dives all too well, because she only has 1 cocoon button. And
by the way, Lahen's doesn't actually count that cocoon as a miss, because he's still got the cleanse.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it went completely the wrong direction or not.
Yeah.
So count it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to flame Lahen's for that one, you cannot. He got the summoner spell.
He still is definitely leading POM for me.
Yeah.
We're not done just yet, and I mean, I feel like a lot of the time with Nongshim...
How is this still voracious?
Yeah, well, it's calculated at 14 minutes, right? So,
yeah, I guess.
At least unless they hadn't changed that. Assuming they haven't changed that, which I don't think it was in the notes. There were a lot of things that Otacon changed but weren't in the notes, let's just say. I don't really know exactly what they changed to make it better. Is Kellen
really needs to press Steadfast Presence a bit faster.
Yeah, he's a little bit slow on it today. But I feel like a lot of these fights for Nongshim have been like 1 step forward and then 1 step back. It's not 2 steps back, but I'm like, hey, maybe a little bit cleaner, and you guys have a bigger lead. A lot of the lead is in those turrets that they have. With the 6 grubs they picked up, that's pretty huge for them. And now they're just going to start Otacon here because there's no prio here for BFX whatsoever. No one's even nearby.
And how do you face check? Like, face checking an Elise is so frustrating. They're going to put down this control ward. That's going to try and get them in there, as this is going down very low. Can Raptor get the steal? That's the question, because you cannot fight them after they get this buff. Keeper's Verdict comes down, but it's too late. The Cocoon is going to block Helen there, as well as the public execution. Oh no, insult, meet injury, as B&K not only lose Otacon, but they also lose both their jungle and support. And Nongshim are going to be able to continue pushing with an inability to die.
Yeah, no, that is probably the straw that breaks the camel's back here for B&K.
And this camel was already walking with rickety knees, Wolf.
I thought maybe we could see it in a fair fight, B&K stand up to Nongshim, but it's just not going to happen anymore. And the funny part about it is both of the solo laners were just not involved in that exchange at all. Like, Clear went for a Hex Gate flank on this Jace, tank Jace. He's like, maybe I can get it done. You can see Vikla on the minimap when you'll be able to look at it if we have a replay. He's like, I got teleport, but that's a zero-sum game. I'm not going in there. You can see him like walk towards it. He's like, nah, I'm not showing up to this one. I'm sorry, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Oh man.
Well, nothing's going right.
This means Gio might die. As okay, Clear does get the control ward down. That means the Cocoon is not going to spell his death. And
so we already knew that there's no vision, stuff like that. Look at Vikla on the mini-map.
Oh, that cocoon, man.
Like, he's walking up and he's like, nah, I'm not going. I'm not going. And Jace also, you can see, Clear is like, I'm flanking, and he's like, actually no, I'm not joining. I'm gonna work on this mid turret. So it was just not a fair fight. They just didn't have vision. It was a good read from Nongshim, knowing how much control they had over the map, how many turrets they've taken off, and now, you know, at first it was just gold only they had from the turrets, but the extra control that gives them on the map is immense. And now that they have the Otacon buff on top of it, they can rip the last few of them away, and they're going to push hard here into the bottom lane and look for potentially a dive on the Clear.
Yep, Clear is going to take a bunch of damage here from King and shields up most of it, and will continue to try and get some pressure down as there's the public execution. Clear manages to go to the skies, and speaking of to the skies, Keeper's Verdict sends away the Ambessa, but they're continuing to fight here. Oh, Jiwoo! That's that killer instinct we wanted to see! 2 kills ripped away from BNK, and then he just withdraws, goes back home as Fisher, now it's his turn to pop off underneath the inhibitor turret, and now it's just Vikla left standing. That is some Otacon value if ever I've seen it.
It certainly is. They don't get the inhibitor turret nor the inhibitor, but they did get a lot of gold. And now they're even further ahead in gold. And so I think that was a pretty efficient usage of the Otacon buff. If it was previous patch, you'd feel even better about it, but still, I think well worth it. Getting this kill, getting this turret and then getting several kills here with a really nice engage. Yeah, there's a Keeper's Verdict that knocks the Ambessa away, but kind of really helps Kingen out in this case, actually, since he was in a dangerous spot anyways. And then, yeah.
That is so satisfying. Watching Jiwoo make that decision.
And then Fisher here, too. He's like, no one's getting out alive, including me, but a little bit of an overextension there, you could say. Like, this one, I think the space will be a little bit less enthusiastic about, but everything up until that was pretty great.
Well, Lehens has found Vikla, and there's another Cocoon. God, this guy is very good at support, at least. It's like he's been playing it for like 11 years. As Nongshim continuing to push forward. Lehens as well, like in a lead. Yeah, finds that one with that ward over the wall. And Diablo takes 50% of his health bar. There goes the inhibitor turret. And Nongshim, I mean, their wallets are so incredibly huge. They are just kind of dropping it on them now. But still, they're doing it with style.
I mean, he's got Storm Surge and an Arm Guard and a needlessly large rod. He has so much money.
He's basically a mid laner, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually insane. Like, and this is, I talked about it earlier, how as a support you get to have that impact, you get to have fun, you get to hurt people on this champion. But when you're this fed, you really hurt.
Well, they're looking to try and kill Kingen here. Kellen will die if he tries to corral him any more than this. And you can see Kingen realize that public execution going to go down. Let's see whether the world champ can make his way out. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the world champ difference right there. It doesn't have to be just Wolf Flick that has it. As now Nongshim push in the mid lane, they're going to take another inhibitor. And this game is basically over, Wolf.
Yeah, I think it has been for a little while, but it felt like maybe when they were like 3,000 gold behind, you know, like, oh, there's a team fight that could happen if they get to fight on even terms. But Nongshim just never let them have that fight. They've never given them any space, any vision. And as you can see here, I mean, once again, BNK are completely blind, trying to kind of leapfrog their way closer to the Baron. This is going to give Nongshim a free reset here. They have Hex Gates they can get over very quickly. And this is just Vikla trying to farm. Could have waited for the minions to come to him, but he lost some gold. He was very greedy here, and he is punished by the Spider. Lehens is Spider-Man, actually.
He actually is. It is very true. Elise is Spider Lady, and he is therefore Spider-Man.
Yes.
I think that's canon. So Vikla is just going to try and repair this bottom lane. That's not really going to work. Nongshim have a free Baron if they would like to get it. Gideon also winning a 1v1 against the Wukong is a sign of poor things to come. Especially, I mean, this Sejuani is so big, Wolf.
Yeah.
We were talking about the fact that like he's getting a bunch of money early and how that's not a good thing. I'm kind of feeling like maybe it is, as the first Cocoon is going to miss there, and that might spell the end of Lehens. He repels, Raptor is burning, and Elise just flashes away. Lehens he just walks. He's got those tap dancing shoes on, and he's feeling good about it as Jiwoo throws out the Feather Storm. That stops Diablo from killing him for a while. Does mean that he does go down, but BNK, I don't think they're winning this one. Public execution just for fun, but Kingen gets that shield, stays alive, and Gideon is never going to die again this game. His health bar is too big, and Fisher is done.
Stop the Baron. That's the good news.
Hey, nailed it. There you go.
The bad news is you did not stop a 6-scrub Aurora from wiping out majority of this Nexus turret. You see Kingan's got the teleport in as well, and they are looking to end this one right here, right now.
Yeah, that is game 1 in the books here for Nongshim. Probably the most cathartic game for any Nongshim fan. If you are a Noodle Boys enthusiast, this is a good sign for things to come, because this is Jiwoo looking back on form. This is Fisher finding some angles. Gideon looking really, really good. Man, this is the Nongshim we were promised. This is the Nongshim with the upgrades that we saw on paper in Kingan and in Lahen's being insane. This is what we were expecting, and finally we get to see it.
Even though I think they definitely could have shown a little bit more restraint at times, their aggressive approach to getting the topside control, to getting the Xayah into that lane with the Elise into the Jace, grabbing that turret, grabbing basically both of those outers super early and pressuring mid constantly, gave them so much prio on objectives, and they played a really good macro game through that snowball and made it very difficult for the Victor that had money through some of those kind of wonky exchanges, like where he's looking to fight. Victor's like, I'm actually kind of accelerated. Maybe we can fight, maybe in a longer fight with a good Wukong setup. I can do the damage. We have the Kai'Sa, we have that mobility. But they just never got to set up those fights because they couldn't see. And then Kellen kept getting picked because he had to face check, and there's an Elise there, and then you can't side lane into this anymore. The Ambessa threat is always a big problem. And I thought BNK might excel because of the chaos of this game. It didn't really come to pass.
What the heck? Gideon top damage!
Well, a little bit behind Vikla, but otherwise, yes. On his team.
On his team, yeah. That's absolutely insane. I'm so impressed. This Heartsteel Sejuani situation, that is out of control. So Vikla, yeah, got a lot of damage on his side, but it wasn't able to win out the game. A fun first one, though, in this best of 3. We'll see whether BNK Furex can make it interesting and take away a game number 2. We're going to go to a short break, then Digon and the boys have the space, and we'll be there for game number 2. See you soon.
이뻐. 오 밀어줄게. 쳐. 쳐 얘네 못 나. 치고 있어. 어때? 계속 쳐. 얘네 못 나. 쳐. 쳐. 우리
끝.
이거 깜빡해야 될 듯. 얘네 옹부터. 야, 옹 봐줘. 공 잡았어. 얘들아, 싸봐.
데이터 볼게.
야, 잘 봐줄게.
나공 4초. 나공 3초. 뭐 못해줘.
It's been mentioned a lot, but he was definitely the weak link in that first game.
Yep, it's not been the first time for this guy as well. He certainly needs to catch a break here in the LCK Cup. We'll see whether this game number 2 is going to do it for them. Blue side and game 2, 2 very good signs. Because it has been, this situation is 100% of their wins. They've managed to do it 3 times thus far against teams that have been pretty good here in the LCK Cup. So this is their chance, this is their opportunity, and I expect this to go to 3 games. Let's check out this draft to see how it is going to happen. As Yone and Rumble both taken away from Fisher and Kingan, certainly 2 of their best performing champions as the obligatory bans come in from Nongshim.
Kalista's still there. Obviously, Ashe, Varus is still, both of those champions are still available. They weren't played in game 1, so priority may change towards AD carries here on blue side for this one. As looking at another ban here, See what they do. Lock away. The Rumble is gone already. Cassante could be the angle here they're fishing for with that Rumble ban and the Gnar ban. It's like, clear's like, ban Cassante or we will first pick it. And as a result, Nongshim will probably ban it, and then they'll get their pick of either the Ashe or Varus if that's the angle they want to go for. Problem with that is that the other one is open on the other side. So Varus will be the preferable pick for Diablo in this case if the Cassante ban comes through, which it does. So my expectation is that's where we're headed here with this first pick. Vi, however, also available.
Yep, Vi and Zyra are the two champions that snuck through the ban phase based on what Nongshim took away on blue side last time. So this does make a fair bit of sense. The Zyra ban is just because Raptor has been gravitating to it in previous metas and has been very, very good at the champion. Gideon, not really too phased though. They're just going to insta-lock the Xin Zhao. And there is the Ezreal as well, keeping the color coordination. You like to see it.
I think you really need to grab either the Ashe or Varus here as BNK to... I mean, the Ashe can follow up on the Vi ult really well. Varus is great into Ezreal, so you can kind of win the mid matchups when they move out of lane and then farm in mid. And, you know, you can also crush a top laner with the Varus as well, or Ashe. So either of those feel like a really strong point you can grab in this draft. The Azir is solid here too, has some great synergy with the Vi, very strong mid-jungle duo, but I don't want to see another Kellen lock in here. The Poppy was a little bit early, was a little bit out of place last time around, and I think giving Diablo the power in this part of the draft before they lose any ability to crush that Ezreal is definitely a big angle to take here on blue side.
Yeah. Could be just a Varus lock-in, but instead they're considering heading for a blind Jax. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that one as well, and I was thinking already that the Azir looks reactionary, right? Like, it looks like we can see the Xin Zhao Ezreal composition. We've seen this with Azir so many times. Let's take it away from them so that they cannot add that to the comp. But then you miss out on that incredible synergy that you can get from a Talia, from an Ahri, from a LeBlanc, from so many of these champions that can pair alongside the single target lockdown of a Vi so much. As Fisher just cycles through a bunch of stuff and then locks in a Gargoyle that's going to feel absolutely fine alongside the Azir in lane, and will then be able to augment the Xin Zhao going in over and over again. The thing that's great about the Galio as well, not only is it flexible, theoretically you can play it on the top side of the map at the same time, but it functions as a way to amplify Kingan's ability to carry.
Yeah.
And he has been carrying on this team.
It's so true. It really plays very well into the aggressive.
There's the Gangplank ban.
Exactly. That was the next thing I was gonna mention, right onto your point. But also facilitates keeping an already safe backline alive against Vi, Azir, and the Jax. So the Ezreal is such a great pick here, and they're looking to potentially ban, I think, that Varus away in this situation, and see if they end up locking that one away. They already took away the Renata, which can be problematic into this type of draft. Going for the Zeri instead. Interesting.
Yeah.
Zeri does follow up on that type of aggression very well.
Very much a Diablo champion as well.
Yeah.
Especially playing it in like a whole lot in Challenger. That was sort of one of his things. So just taking away comfort, I guess, on both counts.
They got rid of the Rumble already. The Gnar is gone. Cassante is banned. So, you know, you're feeling pretty comfortable about your setup for the Jax right now, regardless of what Kingan's playing. The GP is gone, so that part is good, but, you know, will you be able to get the same sort of control in the bottom lane or in the lane swap against said top laner? The Varus kind of fits the bill for me in this situation. I think Ashe could be quite strong with the Vi setup. They have two. Both are good, but based on the bans here, it looks like they just don't think Diablo is going to do it. And this deters that Varus pick.
But also, like, look at this as far as we're going to drop on top of you and murder you composition. Misfortune is exactly not what you want to be playing right now. You want to be playing something with 1,000 dashes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there aren't very many of those left available, and Diablo's still going to lock it in. Oh, this is...
I mean, look...
Oh, okay, there's the Shen. Lehens is just he's just letting us know. By the way, I'm the Shen guy too. I was expecting Shen or Yuumi because both of them can just drop down with the Galio.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So, if you look at BNK's draft in isolation, it's a pretty strong draft. It's got a lot of engage. It's got easy, kind of guaranteed follow-up damage with Misfortune. It's got late game scaling with the Azir. It's got a lot of great parts here. And you look at the other side and you're like, okay, there's not as much late game damage. The problem is that, you know, any single target, whether it's the Misfortune who's very vulnerable, not mobile, and is, you know, stationary while channeling her ult, and the Azir who's pretty squishy, it's really easy for Camille to lock down the Azir and then get Shen ulted, and then get Galio ulted, and it's never going to be a surviving Azir. It's never going to be a surviving Mistfortune, but you can also just kind of focus on the Azir instead and go, well, Mistfortune isn't going to do that much long-term damage when we're going into cleanups in the fight. She's more of a bullet time combo-oriented champion in this draft with the Rel. And I just feel like this time I really like Nongshim's chances. I mean, their draft is not as standard meta, just like it wasn't really in game one, but it's so specifically good into what BNK put together. And BNK don't have hard lane pressure really anywhere. The Azir can get a small edge, the Jax is going to be fine, but I was really hoping for something to punish this Ezreal before it hits its 2-item spike, and I just don't think they have that.
I don't really see it either. I think so much is on Raptor's shoulders. Like, this guy has to get around and make this buy work in the early game. Otherwise, the combo is going to be scary. Let's get into it. All right, Lehens gets to say, trust me, I'm a doctor, which is absolutely terrifying if you know anything about how Lehens plays the game. And Kellen, he is going to learn, as he does spot all of Nongshim making their way over. Thankfully, isn't going to move any further forward, but information given over to Nongshim about the location of the bottom lane. And as I say bottom lane, they are in the bottom lane. That does make, no lane swap just yet.
So outside of Korea, we have a few of those like doctor dramas that are pretty popular, like House and Scrubs.
Yep.
There's probably a few.
The Good Doctor was actually remade as well in Korea.
That was quite good.
Dr. Foster.
But in Korea, we have about like 72 medical dramas. And I feel like it's a huge opportunity for maybe a Shen medical drama. Maybe the second season of Arcane will actually be just a Shen medical drama. Koreans will watch it, man, I promise you.
And it's not even the second season, because you know how they're doing like different like storylines and like going into all sorts of different things. You just run it alongside.
Yeah.
You know, and you could have Ken in there as well. There's a whole skin line, right?
Oh, for sure.
Akali there. Like the nurse's Akali skin is a real thing. Oh man, that's so cool. There's a medical drama that's ready to go.
They could add so many other champions to the skin line as well. Those skins sell well. I mean, I'm just saying.
Riot. I mean, we got to get this email.
Yeah.
I talk about writing the emails all the time. This one has to happen. Lehens and Ju, this is not a whole lot of power in the lane necessarily, but the Shadow Dash is very, very strong if you can connect it.
Another thing I want to talk about in this draft, because we've seen this matchup between the Jax and the Camille so much, and it's volatile in what it means for the game so often because whoever gets a huge lead has the side lane power, and both these champions are so incredibly powerful in sides. But even if, for some reason, Kingen ends up falling significantly behind in this game, what he has is 2 global champions that can impact that side lane. So even if he's behind, he has the ability to be kind of amped up by Lehens and Fisher in this composition. So it's hard for Clear to really push that advantage, even if he gets a significant lead here. So they even kind of have that backup angle for the Camille. If the Camille gets ahead, it's a disaster because she has backup when she's killing that lane and pushing even harder.
Well, Kellen doesn't have Aftershock for a few seconds, as Lehens just lying in wait. Level 2 gained here by all of our bottom lane players, as Ju is going to be able to even out the trades, both of them eating through their potions. But BNK standing their ground just fine, only a few CS in it, and not really too much to worry about. This double up, not really doing too much there to Lehens either. So as far as this bottom lane is concerned, a lot of what Shen wants to do is affect the map later on. It's not necessarily for the lane that you pick this champion, but Lehens has made it work a lot of times in the past. He's in fact played 30 games of Shen support thus far. He's like a lot. He loves locking this champion in.
He's a big fan of it. I feel like if there was a Sylas angle for support for him, there was Shen on the other side, he'd be like, I'm playing Sylas support so I can get that Shen ult.
Oh, he would love that, yeah.
He just loves Shen ulting, and he's got good decision making. Nice buffer on the counter-strike there from Kingen. This matchup is not going to really explode until we see junglers up here.
Yep. There's a lot of like you press your E button, I press mine, which is sort of the mind game with this particular matchup. Always been a fun one, and always been like what feels like the ultimate skill matchup for our split pushes of the top lane is Jax versus Camille.
Yeah, Jax Camille, Jax Fiora, these types of matchups you really enjoy, but you have to play it so carefully because one error and you're just like, I'm not playing the game anymore.
Nope. And as soon as one of them gets ahead, it becomes a big problem, which is, again, why so much is on Raptor's shoulders, right? Like, if he is going to affect any lane, I think top lane is really, really important. But getting Vikler ahead. Like, that could be another pressure point that B&K can manufacture for themselves. But I think so much about this relies on them doing that as, yeah, let's... that's no longer the world champ difference there. That is King and proven he's still just a guy.
I didn't want to cut you off there, but I was like, I think someone has to make some sort of comment about this.
Don't worry, Twitch chat is right there for you. Don't worry, that's a minus quite a few different numbers that I assume are in the chat.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens to the best of us.
Yep. Geo back down here towards the bottom side, and Nongshim with a little bit of a passive lead at the very beginning. As the first dragon going to be that of a mountain. See what the next is. We did get 2 Chemtech souls yesterday for what felt like the first time all tournament, which is kind of crazy.
We have had a lot of Infernal and Hextech, it feels like, and
not enough Cloud. We did get one yesterday, so I'm not too upset.
We had a Hextech in game 1, so see what ends up transpiring here. Is we do have...
Is Jiu going to be okay? Oh yeah, he is. As almost in leap strike range, so not going to be punished quite for the arcane shift forward.
Good spacing. The question is, what do B&K get on the cross map here? You see Kellen wrapping around. He's level 3 though, and that's a Camille.
The problem is that with a Galio, he can always just be there. I feel like it's a bit of a cheat code here for Nongshim. And like when Lehens hits level 6, Stand United is going to provide even more support, and you can sort of cheat your way around the map.
He's so close to 6 as well here, just a few minions away, and I don't think they can make this happen in time. He's so confident too. He's like, you guys cannot do this.
He was in turret range. That double up actually picks up the aggro, and then Kingen immediately lands the hook shot. It's getting more and more dangerous as Nongshim moving over like a unit.
Just so
fast. Be able to get onto these grubs.
So fast on the rotation. You know, no punish there on the bottom side. Now,
oh god, Lehens. Kellen is going to be able to sweep him. So there we go, but Lehens once more. There's the Shadow Dash flash! And they all pile on top of Raptor. He's taken down Diablo. Gonna have to cleanse as Kingen says, you're not taking part in this fight. And it should be 3 grubs going over to Nongshim as well. They'll take the first blood at the same time.
And they didn't have to use the Hextech ultimatum. They didn't have to use the Galio ult.
Yep, they've still got that combo of buttons as Clear wants to try and do something. Lehens just going to dash his way over the wall, and that is going to be that. So there is the full round of grubs. That is going to be 2 objectives in quick succession here for Nongshim, and they are just picking up where they left off.
I mean, fantastic rotation of play. 3 grubs means 2/3 of that objective feat of strength. They got first blood as well, so they're on their way for that one as well. And this is Lehens' taunt, the flash play into the taunt from Fisher. You are just not getting out as Raptor, and Diablo has to cleanse, loses 2/3 of his health bar here, is going to be vulnerable on any sort of follow-up contest with the Hextech ultimatum still being available. Nongshim win bottom side, rotate faster, get top side, and Kellen was trying to make something happen on King, and they were slow on the play. They get nothing there, and you're not supposed to lose this hard on both sides of the map, but Nongshim are winning everywhere.
Yeah, and Lehens is taking a crab because River Shen is real and alive here in the LCK, and we love to see. Never mind, Gideon's going to be able to take it. Damn. He's just getting it started for him. I was ready to believe.
It's okay.
River Shen.
It was just a River Shen reference.
Ah, right. And he was in the River and Shen, so technically still River Shen. As, yep, Counter-Strike, the button was pressed, and that means it's on cooldown, and Kingen is going to have a bit of an advantage in this moment, but away from walls, which is pretty good. Oh, no!
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Different screen, please, as Kingen immediately punishes him for it. I mean, stop it. He's already in trouble, Kingen. As Clear, I mean, he's still going to be able to farm. Does have the wave pushing into him, so he's out of danger.
I mean, we're just not seeing really any punish here. Like, Raptor is trying to clear vision. He's going to try to take red buff. They're trying to use their mid-prio, which is slight, by the way. It's not even that strong, but they can't actually punish Kingen here on the top side. And
if Kingen's strong as well, Wolf, it's like so hard.
I know. It's looking like a disaster here.
Well, True Shot Barrage is going to soften up Diablo here just a little bit. Mystic Shot's not quite landing just yet, but the bottom lane is just even. No worries there on either side. Well, I mean, there are worries because that's a misfortune, and it's making a lot of people quite unhappy. Just in general, I've seen a lot of people just not really like Misfortune right now. She feels like a little bit of a crutch pick picked up by some of our bottom laners. As Jiu, Arcane Shift going to counteract that ultimate quite nicely as the barrier was invested. He still wanted to go toe-to-toe and does lose out as far as that is concerned, but not going to be too worried as Lehens is going to turn up. And he now has the Spirit's Refuge as well that he can provide for Jiu. So if these auto-attack battles do start coming in, can be a little bit of a worry. And with Jax there, like, who does like doing a few autos and stuff like that, I mean, the Shen does do a whole lot of work.
He really does. And, you know, Fisher was actually in a position to where he could have actually potentially gone over there and looked for an ult in to trap them if they had stayed any further. Kingan's totally fine here.
Yeah, there's a lot of these Counter-Strikes that are just kind of going to the wayside. And it's not that Kingan's hard punishing or anything like that, and is actually still behind in farm. But still, we're seeing that he's just getting through the lane just fine.
My concern is that there's not a big enough lead really anywhere. Obviously, there's a big farm lead for Raptor right now, and there's a slight misfortune lead that you naturally get in this laning phase. We didn't have the swap to come through. We did have that isolated Jax Camille, the normal top go off. And the Azir is, you know, in a situation where he wants to be ahead, but he's down a kill. But that's fine. But you really need to get this ball rolling before Israel starts to get towards the 22-minute mark, hits those 2 items, and is looking to pop off with an insane front line that he has, with guaranteed lineups for his skill shots. I mean, that's the thing about Israel.
This is a 2-item comp. This is a 2-item comp that wants to press R and all pile in on one target. We saw Raptor suffer the fate of that, and I feel like Nongshim are only just warming up as far as what this composition does want to do. Kingan wants to kill Vikla. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah, the gold lead basically is actually a deficit compositionally for BNK. They need more. They need a bigger advantage. So starting these grubs, they do have prio. They're down on grubs. They need these so desperately. We can start to see some R buttons pressed here for Nongshim if they can group up.
Yep, Fisher, not too worried about what Clear's doing right now, but the grubs are still being fought by Gideon.
They lost control.
Yeah, they did lose control. I was going to say, I was pretty sure it was a blue health bar that was over there. So it's going to be 5 grubs, but no feat of strength to be picked up here for Nongshim. The denial does come in from Raptor, doesn't overstay his welcome. But this is the problem. If you're playing to like get some scraps, that's not really what you want to be doing right now. You mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of scaling, right? It's weird talking about Azir and Jax as if like it's not quite going to work, but it does feel like Nongshim have so many answers for later on in the game.
Exactly. When everyone presses R on the Azir, how scaled is he really if he's in the Death Chamber?
Yeah.
That's the concern I have. Because yes, if you say, well, Azir is great late game, well, not if he's dead, and I am concerned he will not be alive.
Well, here's a Stand United, ladies and gentlemen. This is what this composition does. It CCs you and kills you. Yeah. And you can't do anything about it.
And that's the thing about the Jax. You're like, oh, I'm in a side lane, I win these. You don't win these because it's always a 1v2 unless you have somebody with you.
It's so much taunting.
Yes.
They've got double taunt. That's not a very common CC in this game. It's looking common in this game, though, as there's another combo with a True Shot Barrage. Lehens doesn't win that 1v1, though, so he's going to have to back away. Still a fair bit of damage, and certainly looked cool.
It did look really cool, and we do see BNK are going to take this dragon, so it's a win for them. Teleport does come over to the top side as we see Clear return.
Man, I mentioned it, and it appeared.
You willed it.
The Chemtech Soul. As Orcs is here, Susja in the chat, please.
Fisher does have ultimate, but he's in the top lane, has teleport, so it would take a lot of resources to protect Kingan here if this dive does get committed to.
And no Stand United. This means that Kingan is somewhat vulnerable, but he does have the ultimate. Can they chain the CC? The answer is no.
They just can't get anything. Atlas is nothing for this team.
Yeah, and they might even lose more as the bullet time is going to soften up Kingan. Didn't have a target that he could utilize in order to go untargetable, so actually good use of that one from Diablo, but I mean, you don't really get too much out of it. Flash does get invested there by Kingan earlier on, so they take something away. I'm going to have a look at this one more time. Let's see how much gameplay Clear is allowed to do.
Let's see how much gameplay Lehens does. Press R.
Well, that was the knockup, and he came down, and then, yeah, R and pressed E. He pressed E?
Sure.
As well.
All right, that's fair.
The E was pretty good, and he was also, he's here trying to steal away a red buff. Lehens woke up this morning and said, I'm in the mood for an interview.
Yeah, and I think so he's going to get it.
He just decided, like, I'm POM today. Boys, this is what's happening. And he's going to get it if they win this game. I guarantee you. This is just... This is the Lehens that we saw, like, what was the final that Lehens basically solo won? That was relatively recent.
Oh, the MSI one?
Yeah, he just sometimes does it. He just is the guy sometimes. And he's also the other guy sometimes as well. But today, oh man, he is him.
Well, it was mentioned by the space, it's been mentioned by us a little bit, but you can't draft like this unless you have a Lehens in your bottom lane. You know what I mean? Like, you can't play the the double global, jump on top of people, crush side lane with Camille comp, unless your support player is really good at Shen. And Shen hasn't really been meta for a very long time in the support role. We've seen it as a niche pick, right? When Lehens picks it as a niche pick. And it's just the fact that Nongshim is playing to his strengths finally here. It's at the end of the group battle stage, but I feel like they didn't do index into this as hard as they are today. It's great to see. Like, it's exciting.
Well, Stand United now going to be invested, and Clear was like, I was enjoying the 1v1. And Shadow Dash doesn't actually connect. Another Empower would have killed Kingen. Not quite executed correctly there on the side of Nongshim. Still, with the Stand United, Kingen's going to survive. No harm, no foul.
It's a win for BNK because they got Lehens' ultimate.
They did.
And that is, you know, where the good news stops.
Ooh, that was a nice Emperor's Divide there from Vikla. Now the Sand Soldier's getting some work done. Of course, Fisher is able to take magic damage quite comfortably, so isn't going to die just yet, but with some assistance could be a problem. Justice Punch going to be blocked, as at least has a small taunt there to stop the Azir from doing too much more. So should be able to march his way out of here, but control of the top lane going to be important as Kellen comes on over, picks up the wave.
Stopping these backs is pretty huge, actually, because he's going to get a ton of damage done to that turret. That may be the first turret of the game here going to BNK from that play. So nicely done by Vikla. A little bit greedy there by Fisher, and will get pushed out, and they're going to rush this one down. You can see in return, Kingen is trying to do the same thing, but there's a lot of defensive members of BNK down there to stop that from happening. Teleport will not be canceled. But it doesn't save the turret either.
No, it doesn't. And in fact, there's a new turret, and it's not the one of Fisher's. So a very confusing little array of plays as the Gargoyle is sort of thrown around like a ragdoll, but is going to survive because he does have a lot of health. But otherwise, still going to lose the turret, lose that feat of strength as well, as BNK are able to lock that one down. But one kill and one objective, and Nongshim have the sandals.
Yeah, so it's a big win here for BNK, but it's alone not enough. And that's kind of been the story of a lot of this early game here for BNK, but they're getting some small victories, right? And it's part of the power of the Azir that has that early Nashor's Truth, how quickly he could take turrets out. You know, Fisher down a teleport, that's huge as well, even though he is, you know, semi-global with his ultimate. Just having that side lane on lock right now feels really good because Vikla has teleport advantage. And we get to these next two objectives. I mean, they get the Herald out of this as well. And BNK definitely have a real fighting chance to actually win some team fights before this comp really just starts pressing R and Ezreal has 2 items and everybody dies. If you can get some map control, those combos become a little bit more difficult to execute. If Kingen's trying to flank to set up his ultimate, but then gets caught in said flank and gets Emperor's Divided, for example, or ulted by Raptor, there are definitely ways to win this game, not in terms of necessarily the scaling damage, but in pick potential with this Vi, with the Jax, with the Rel combo potential. You can absolutely win fights, and BNK are keeping themselves in this after what was a very rocky start to the game.
Yeah, and Nongshim do need to execute well to make this composition work, right? Like, we're talking about this as if Diablo is never going to be able to do damage because we feel like playing Misfortune in a 5v5 scenario should be next to impossible with the fact that Gideon goes in and then there's, you know, the Gargoyle lands on top of you, there's Kingen finding a flank angle, all these sorts of threats that a Misfortune can't really mitigate, but they still have to do it.
This is a really cool setup here, though, because they're going to crash this into mid turret. Clear is threatening topside. Yes, they lost the bottom turret, but you can see Vikla has teleport. He's actually defending the bottom turret there. This is a really good map play here for BNK, and they lose a dragon for this, but I don't think they care.
Well, that is going to be the taunt coming down. Clear should be able to get rid of this turret, but it takes so long. Clear will be taken down. They're in the Thunderdome now. Justice Punch is served to Raptor, but he is going to be able to make it out with the Vault Breaker. Vikla with a defensive ultimate, but Lehens just Shadow Dashes him, and no Sun Disc is going to protect you from that. As Nongshim, they can always collapse like this, and I feel like BNK were playing around this Stand United cooldown so beautifully. But as soon as they don't, we learn why this composition's so hard to play.
I mean, this could have looked so different if the Jax is able to get like 2 more autos off just a little bit faster. This whole scenario looks different because maybe then he can actually help set up for this fight. I mean, look at how low this turret is, and the taunt comes through. Can't hit the turret, can't hit the turret, can't hit the turret, and then like
another taunt.
Yep,
oh,
and then
God.
The Galio ult on top of everything, and then their Misfortune is not here. So Kellen's like, oh, we could do something, and they have an Emperor's Divide, right? The teleport advantage that the Azir had from bottom lane. They have so many pieces here. They're just like a sliver off of having an amazing team fight after already making such a good macro play. But
I mean, I think that they're like playing World of Warcraft, with 2 tanks in a raid group. They're like constant taunting and over over again.
Lehens just says, I'm the big bro. I'm the older brother. And that's a literal translation of what he said there. And
yeah,
this game he is. Still, I thought leading up to that moment, great macro though from B&K, really good usage of their teleport advantage, playing the map, but you're just always going to be down when your support has that ability to teleport himself and turn a fight.
He's 2 levels above Kellen as well. Like, Lehens is really, he's really having a game. This is the Lehens that we wanted to see on Nongshim, and it is finally working. They're going to have to figure it out, though, as far as closing this game out. 2,000 gold is their lead. Currently, they do manage to pick up the feats of strength as well, as Atakan is going to be on the top side of the map, as he does appear. I assume it's Voracious. As Lehens, I mean, all good things must come to an end, right? And so he will be taken down. Not quite sure what he was really doing there, as Diablo's going to be able to take down this turret.
That's a lot of gold.
Not going to connect, and yeah, you're exactly right. Sometimes you cast a curse, sometimes it's Lehens. I'm not entirely sure. You could blame us. You could just accept that it's Lehens.
And right now, I mean, there's a big advantage in terms of map control to B&K. They're not in a gold lead. And Nongshim are down just 1 turret, but critically the mid turret is gone. And this means that you can flank and crush King and insides, even though he has his global friends. You can collapse on this and take out this outer turret relatively easily. Clear. We'll get away with this back, it looks like. Lehens just clearing a ward. And goes for a taunt on this one, actually. So...
he was just fighting Kellen for a long time.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I want to give him a bit of a down. I'm like, oh, he's got a clear award, then he gets popped, and then he just decides to stay for some reason.
Yeah.
He's probably like telling Gio, like, why didn't you come? And Gio's like, I'm not inting, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you, if you want to keep fighting there, you go for it. That was a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I guess it's just a bit Lehens. And it's fine. It doesn't really affect the game too much, but getting that out of turret in mid lane certainly is important, as Kellen thinks he might have found Fisher here. Winds of War go down. There's another taunt to stop the rest of the engage. And Gideon's going to be here, but now Fisher might have to go home, does elect to do so.
I mean, this is a 2-item Vi, you know, and the Galio build doesn't offer you a whole lot of armor, and obviously he already has the cleaver, so you do rip through that Galio health pretty quickly as Raptor, so every time you encounter him like that, you can really push him out of a side. That's going to get his teleport too.
Yep. True Barrage is going to spot what's going on around this Atakan. Spots that there is a control ward there. As once again, they're diving on top of Lehens, but this time he's got Gideon there, and now the rest of the teammates turn up. Teleport coming forward. Fisher Justice punches his way out. They get a teleport out of B&K, but good disengage.
The tempo here for B&K is just immense. They get the teleport out of Fisher, they get the ult out of Fisher, they're faster on the play. Kingen also TPs, but isn't able to set up that flank like he wants to. They get chased away by a 2-item Azir, who hits really hard in these scenarios, so you can't really mess around with trying to rotate back in and going for that Kingen collapse like they hope to. Speaking of Kingen...
Okay, Diablo was out of vision, and so Kingen didn't know that he could have potentially killed a Misfortune.
And, I mean, once again, Nongshim grouping here towards the top side of the map.
Vikler. Oh, Vikler is in so much trouble. Fisher is going to spot him out, but the teleport, that's going to scoot him out of there.
But that gives a huge amount of prio for Atakan right now. B&K need to rotate fast. Clear does not have teleport. This is a huge problem.
Well, yeah, and Vikler definitely doesn't have teleport because he just used it to get out of the way of right here where he wants to be. As now Kingen looking for an opportunity. Stands United comes down. Emperor's Divide does absolutely nothing. And down goes Raptor. Kellen not sure what he's doing as I look back towards the rest of the fight. Hookshot not going to get Vikler, but now he's out of the fight as well. Clear standing in amongst it, but none of his friends are around. And Nongshim just going one after the other. And Clear survives for way longer than he would like to, but now 2 of the damage dealers are up, but no one else.
I mean, Vikler, he alone would have to rip through these health bars here if they're going to contest, so they just simply opt out. Even though everyone's super low on the side of Nongshim, Lehens is going to take some damage here. They're going to have to juggle the aggro. Meanwhile, you see Vikler pushing into that inner. They're going to try to take down this dragon, but the Otacon is way more important here. Vikler whiffing that ultimate is so massive. I think if he had saved it there and had at least hit Lehens, but like we had actually gotten a high value setup there, maybe they could have actually stopped that objective. But man, I was talking about how they had such good tempo, and they threw it all away. I mean, Vikler having to teleport to escape here just guarantees Otacon goes over. And yeah, this is kind of a disaster. Kingen has the shield, the ult here doesn't hit anybody, and Vikler is all of their damage right now, essentially, and so He's not able to actually long-term fight here because he's just shoved out of this fight by that Camille. Even though Clear buys time here, he's not hitting anybody. Vicla's not hitting anybody. He's like, I'm a zero, want to reach over and hit him, but we just don't have a front line anymore. We don't have a buy. The Jax is gone and alone, and you know, he could have, a lot of teams would have actually just gone over there and tried to stop them, but he was like, it's too risky. We're just going to get the mid-inner and back away. But that means Nongshim have Otacon with their double global, with the Camille, and they're looking to start really taking that map control back. I mean, they already have it now, but they're going to probably have it permanently.
Baron's up in 10 seconds time. They've got Otacon for another minute and a half. This is so high value. Justice Punch to stop Clear from doing anything at all, as Fisher is just dancing around the river. And here comes Baron. Perfect timing, says Nongshim. It's 7-1 as far as kill score is concerned. You can see the gold is really not a whole lot in it, to be perfectly honest, but Nongshim have really had B&K's number all day so far. And this comp doing exactly what we expected it to do. Nongshim piloting it really, really well at the same time. Justice Punch not quite landing. But honestly, Fisher has had a great day as well. This Galio performance has been phenomenal.
It's really good. I want to see him play it more.
Yeah, me too. This is the Nongshim that we wanted to see, and I'm just so glad that it's finally here. As they do back away from the Baron, they do want to pick up a B&K member, a straggler, and that might be Kellen, not tagged by the last Mystic shot there. Will be able to make his way out, but Nongshim...
Critically, Kellen does not have Flash, so his ability to engage on this composition is significantly limited by that lack of summoner, so it's hard for him to set up a combo for Misfortune. Vikla has his ult and can do a ton of damage, but it's closing the gap. That's so difficult. Now they're just kind of sitting on a Sun Disk, and this is once again Nongshim starting this up with vision control, and someone's going to have to go in. Someone's going to have to face check, and I mean, you have no information to set up a combo. Kellen has to be the guy.
Well, they do have information on where Kingen is, but Kellen is still likely to die. Gets the Magnet Storm off, as now Gideon with that Crescent Guard trying to keep himself safe. Heroic entrance going to bring Fisher over there. The Winds of War as well, as Clear's going to go down. There's a beautiful taunt. Yeah, Misfortune can't play the game. That was never going to be a thing. Raptor trying to flash, but it's a triple for Jiwoo, and he's even going to let the Vi live, because Nongshim just want to take apart the base of B&K, or maybe they changed their minds. They want a purple buff. They can take anything. Well, the world's their oyster.
Yeah, they're going to take a purple buff and then take away the base.
Yeah.
So they're going to get the Baron Gold.
It's the order I messed up, I guess, yeah.
And we've been giving Kellen a lot of flack for his performance in this series. In this case, I'm a little bit, I kind of feel like the team should have been more with him on setting up, because he's base checking there and setting up that ward, but he can instantly ult. If the team is there, maybe they can get something out of it. He gets his ult off. It's not the greatest one, but also the follow-up was very late. And then obviously with all of the tools that Nongshim have that we've been talking about all game long, they just crushed the fight.
And they've got a million buttons that can CC all of the carries. And I think that's why Vikla and Diablo haven't been able to follow up, because they have to wait for so many cooldowns to be not available. Yeah. Because otherwise they can't walk up, because they instantly die in a chain of CC that lasts like the entire game length.
And like when you think about the Emperor's Divide value into everybody collapsing onto one place, you're like, oh, well, that would be sick. I mean, you just push all of them away. They don't come in all at the same time. It's like the Camille comes first, then the Shin comes, then the Galio comes, and all the while you're waiting for those big globals to land, you're dead. Like, you can't wait for that.
But also, they come in with a shield, and then a Shen taunts you for half your life. Like,
it's horrible.
It is frustrating, but if you're a Nongshim fan, you're pretty happy with it. Now you can see B&K is looking a little bit desperate. 5,000 gold behind now. The Rebel Baron power play sitting at close to 1,600, but that is only going to extend as Kingen looks to take down his first inner turret on this top side. Kellen, once again out of position, and no way that you can be walking around trying to get vision at this stage of the game.
And for the DN Freaks, this is great news. You know, I mean, they're looking at potentially just getting into play-ins here off of Nongshim's victory, and, you know, they earned that win that they got, and that's the difference maker. And on the other side, B&K, they were in control of their destiny, but really struggling here in this series. A must-win for them. It's not over till it's over, but it is looking pretty over at this point, Atlas.
It's pretty dire. Nongshim as well. I think that if you're this roster with these players, you want to be higher in the standings. You don't want to be one of the teams that is struggling in the bottom 5. Oh my god! Diablo just explodes! Emperor's Divide does manage to get some damage back, but look at this! Nongshim say thanks for the engage angle and just obliterate them! I mean, the wallets were heavy, but I didn't know that their knees were this weak and their palms were this sweaty, Wolf.
Yeah. Kingen, I think he's in danger, but not, maybe I'm wrong, because he's Camille.
Yeah, well, Kingen is just going to give him a thumbs up. Fisher is going to knock them all up. He goes golden as well, just to show how cool he is, and then he dies. That is going to be Raptor, at least keeping him honest. But in the meantime, as you can see, Nongshim are winning the game. Gideon, Wind becomes Lightning, but Nexus becomes Exploded, and Nongshim are going to pick up the 2-0 over BNK FearX. What an incredible performance. Finally, I say, for the Noodle Boys.
Yeah, and they were at the bottom of the most dominant group. Like, they're competing within their group with D+, undefeated, Gen G, you know, MSI champions, Super Team, KT Rolster, who is actually surprisingly doing quite well, and then DRX, who had some really phenomenal performances with Lazyfield and UCal, and Rich performing better than I think a lot of people expected. They end up going 2-3 at the end of the group, but it was a very competitive group, very dominant here for Group Elder as they pick up their 16th and final win here of the group battle. And, you know, for BNK, I think there's a lot of learning that needs to happen between now and LCK because they have a roster that I think exceeded our expectations, at least exceeded mine in terms of what their performance was like, but it still isn't enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the depth of the champion pool of Lehens and what this team can do with it that when we saw this roster we were hoping for. Fearless really empowers it. I want to see Nongshim lean into this a lot more because this is the kind of draft that can catch even a team like Hanwha Life off guard because you just don't see drafts like this all the time. You don't scrim against them all the time. You're not necessarily super ready for how this is all going to play out. I thought BNK played the early macro game decently well, but once they got picked apart once, they just looked super lost.
Yeah, they really did. But I just want to talk about Nongshim because this team, we've been waiting for this, man. And I'm just so happy that we finally see it. BNK, I think you're right. And it's so weird to say, like, they've exceeded our expectations when I think a lot of us had them in last place, and that's kind of where they are. But the performance, like Diablo, I think looked a lot better than I expected, especially. Just wasn't enough to pick them up a victory outside of stealing some games away here and there. And now they've got a long break before the LCK starts. Of course, LCK Cup still with some time to go, but they're not going to be challenging for that top spot in that first international, the treat that we get at the beginning of the year. It's not going to be one that we'll see BNK FearX along at.
No, it is, this format is pretty forgiving, but one team doesn't go.
Yeah.
And they are the one. So coming in as the weakest team for the LCK means there's a lot to improve, and I mean, just moves like this, you know, these clutch plays, these angles that Lehen sees, his experience on these unusual support picks is just the Lehen's diff, you know, and I thought also with a wild champion pool like Gio has, like this is going to be a super fun bottom duo to watch, and I think for a lot of this tournament they kept it pretty standard, pretty real. Yeah, we saw Lehens play the Elise before, but you know, pulling out the Shen here instead of just playing something normal in this game and just closing it out in a flashy way, like you said, it's what we've been waiting for, it's what we've been wanting, and if you're a Nongshim fan, it's got to feel really nice. Sure, you're still bottom of your group, but you got 2 wins, and you know, that's 2 more than your opposition has had today, right? You feel like you're going into play-ins with some extra momentum.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like room for development in the play-ins as well. Like there's a best of 5s or a lot of games to play. And if Nongshim keep playing these really fun compositions, playing them well coordinated, this is going to be such a fun team to watch and also a scary one for the opposition because they are so flexible, like you were saying. Like, you got Lehens. He can just play lots of weird stuff. And Gio is no stranger to that either. Oh god, this was a jump scare.
Yeah, this was.
I mean, we mentioned it already. Diablo was never playing this game.
No.
Sadly.
I also feel like this was one of the only decisions you could not make here at this point in time to try to defend. Like, you know, you have a misfortune, maybe you play around your Nexus turrets, but going in there into this comp that has so much, I've got taunts for days, I've got shields for days, was definitely not going to be it.
This was a funny one.
Yeah, this was hilarious.
King and look Look at his, he's got like a nervous smile. He's like, oh, sorry about that one.
I want to see Fisher play more utility, man. If he can play Galio like this, I want to see him play Karma mid, okay? You know, like,
yeah,
I want to see him play
bring back the Lulu. Let's go.
Because I haven't trusted a lot of his damage dealers, especially 80 carries last year, but if he can play Galio like this, I wonder what else he's got in his pocket.
Well, Jiu is going to top the damage here. We can see, like, Clear actually had an okay time against King in the lane, but it just really felt like he was never able to really do anything at all. Raptor gave it his best shot, but I felt like compositionally it was a masterstroke from Nongshim, and BNK not really able to give Diablo anything that he could actually do. So you can see he dropped off a cliff as far as gold was concerned, and clean 2-0, nothing to see here from Nongshim.
Yeah, 2 sub-30-minute games. No surprise Lehens get it.
The most obvious. This was the Lehens, as we mentioned, that felt like giving an interview today.
Yeah, I imagine it will likely be unanimous as well.
I would hope so.
I think there were a lot of players who had a great time in Game 2 there with him, but with his performance in Game 1, it's just like it has to be him. Like, he was the best player both games.
Yep, he is just him. That is how it goes. And he's also one of the greatest interviews that we have here in the LCK as well, full of charisma, so I'm excited that we do get to have a chat to him at the same time. One of the biggest moves, you could say, from the Stove League, from the offseason, was Kingen and Lehens, two of these huge veteran names, going over to Nongshim, which was known as the sort of rookie team here in the LCK.
Yeah, I just really excited to see Lehens too on a roster that I think isn't as high caliber as some of the ones he's been on last time. Let's see what he can accomplish with a team like this. I'd love to see it.
Yep, and I'd love to hear from him as well. So now it is time to throw it over to the interview. Take it away, dear.
Thank you very much, guys. This is here for the POM interview translation, joined by Lehens on the side of Nongshim Red Force. Congratulations! Thank you. You just got out of your last group battle match. How do you feel? Now, I really wanted to finish strong with a victory, and I'm very relieved that we're able to do that. And I didn't really think that it was a clean match, but I think I would say I'm pretty satisfied. And we got a new record on the last day of group battle match, which was our very first support POM today. How do you feel? You know, the reason I was able to even get a POM today is because of all the fans that have paid us a visit today. So thank you. I would like to return the favor and say thank you to everyone. And it's no surprise that you're a good Elise support player, but your Game 1 Elise play was almost like Spider-Man. And even during the draft, you took Elise quickly. So do you think Elise belongs to the top of the tier list? Yeah, a lot of supports actually do favor playing Elise. And I think I have been one of those players that have been playing Elise support from a very long time ago. So yes, I do believe that Elise is great. And yeah. So, did you want to go ahead and was it your decision to go with Elise? Yeah, I think I really did appeal to the team, and I wanted to be vocal about playing Elise today. And in Game 2, Cloud Templar, the Shen enjoyer, was so excited about your Shen support. So can you walk us through the Shen pick? You know, I'm really glad that I was able to show you give you a good show, Cloud Templar. Thank you for your support. And anything you would like to say to DN Freaks, since they were able to advance to the play-ins. You know, maybe you guys should treat us, take us out to dinner sometime. And you know, I hope that we all can be successful. And now, OK Savings Bank Brian will be your first opponent in the play-in stage. So please share your resolution. So we just have to climb up from where we are right now. So I hope that we become an even cooler and an amazing team over time. And that's the end of the interview with Lehens. Please stay tuned for the super hyped episode 2 of Lolmans, and now throwing it back to the space. Thank you.